It was funny. I was talking to my grandmother about this, and she's almost 81 years old, and she was listing off all the different types of jobs that she had had from her teen years to current day, and everything from a labor and delivery nurse to working for a florist and a photographer, working as a telephone operator when they, had the little headsets and would plug in the different wires. And she said everything was seasonal. Everything had a cycle to it, whether it was during the day of what time the phone rang to all of a sudden everyone came in at the same time, and even delivering babies. And I've heard this with like the moon and things like that with the emergency room, but she said in the hospital unit that she was in, you might go a week and there might be like one baby born, and then all of a sudden everyone would come in at the same time. And so I think there is something to this cycle, that it's not just about blogging, it's not just about book sales and there's seasons for that, or what time of year your product is produced. But I think it really is just how we live and how God's created the world, and that we can't push through it. Yeah. We can't change it. We can't force the seasons to change, and we can't make it where there isn't a downhill.
Right.
There's always going to be times of like rest and slow down, and our society says push through that. You don't need to rest, but I know I do.
Yes. I think that's actually a gift to us. And I think also the type of work that we're doing tends to shift. Mm-hmm. Like we go through times when it's really project focused, and then we have a season where it's really people focused, and then and we tend to only count.
Sometimes dream focused too.
Yeah, sometimes just ideas.
Yeah.
And so we tend, I think, in our culture, only to count the project focused time, because we can show results and check it off the list. And I have a little task app, and actually putting like, have lunch with my husband, and then I would check it off. And like, hang out with my friend, check it off. Rest, check it off. And it was amazing how even that little act of like just validating that this is just as worthwhile or more worthwhile than like answer all my emails, get that deadline met, all of those other things. So I think too, knowing that it's not just about the pace, but it's also about the type of work, that there's going to be different seasons for different kinds of things.
And don't let someone say, well, what did you do today to make money? How does that task that you just checked off, having lunch with your husband, how does that help you be successful in the world's eyes and have more money in your bank account? Because I think if we start to have that motivation and we shift our focus and that's all that we do anything for, it won't work.
Yeah.
Because having lunch with your husband could be the processing time that you need verbally to figure out that project or that issue that could be a deal changer that can make money. Mm-hmm. I mean, so you could say, well, how is any of that connected? Well, it's all, I think, intertwined. That's the way I approach it. And so I think if you're, being obedient and you're listening to the Lord and you're doing what you're joyful and passionate about, and you're following that joy and you're pursuing joy instead of more, like we talked about last week, then I think it'll work. But don't get caught up in how does this connect back to the bottom dollar. Mm-hmm. Corporate America does that, and obviously since you're watching this, you're not fitting into that mold of like how do we assign numbers and values to this. I think everything that you do and who you are is part of that, and it's really important.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really about expanding our definition of ROI, return on investment. Mm-hmm. And when we look at the life of Jesus, it's very different, that he says, you know what, investing in that person is a good return, like taking that time to rest and refuel, that is a good return. And so just saying, yes, there's a financial piece to it, but it's about a whole lot more than that.
Right.
And a lot of times we're working even when we don't feel like we're working, because like Steph said, we need that time to process or to come up with the next thing, or just to take a nap sometimes.
Yes.
Just so we can be ready for that next hill that God has for us.
Mm-hmm. So I guess strap on your helmets, girls.
Yes.
I'll put it on the right way this time.
All right.
There we go.
Good job. There you go.
I'm taking one for the team. All right, strap on your helmet and enjoy the downhill.